Welcome back, Interblops. I'm here once again with an episode of I Played a Thing, Alicia Dragoon. No wait, Alice in Wonderland. This is the game without all the magic lightning. Anyway, last episode we acquired a flying hat, we learned a morbid lullaby, and cleared a path to the True Looking Glass. The True Looking Glass only works at 12 o'clock, and as luck would have it, it's very nearly 12 now. So let's get started. And there we go. Through the looking glass we go. What will Alice find there? Well, we'll find out. We are in the Asuo Salgnikul. I like those. What we have here, in the looking glass house, is a small door maze. It's not a particularly difficult one, so there may be a little trial and error here because I don't remember the path off the top of my head, but it's not a difficult one at all. Sanity will be retained. Now we're on the roof. I'm pretty sure we don't want to go through another looking glass at this point, so let's try the middle door. And we have arrived at Eert. And there's a new friend here. Eek! It hurts! It hurts! What hurts, ma'am? Of course, we'll want to do a save state before we converse. Who are you? Her Imperial Highness, the White Queen. The White Queen is a major departure from the Queen of Hearts, in that she is hapless, helpless, and a little bit stupid. My sister described her as whacked out of her ever-loving mind, which is a wonderful phrase, and one that I think I'll keep. So the White Queen is kind of whacked out of her ever-loving mind. And where, pray tell, am I? In the Looking Glass House. Once again, we could have figured that out with a quick look at the signs, but we never seem to have that kind of sense. And why you do that thing you do? My brooch is loose and it's going to stick me, child. So are you hurting preemptively? Please, do tell me more. Oh, I'm quite fine now. I think everyone should have a scream once in a while. Otherwise we'd explode. Catharsis. Good for you and good for me. Can I help you with that particular brooch situation? No, I can... There, the brooch has stuck me. I'll give you my thanks now, and you can give me the brooch later. If those nasty ferrets take it, you might be able to find it in the bank. It used to be we could find it in the museum, but apparently things have changed now that we're through the looking glass. But we've got more to learn from the White Queen, so let's reload state. Calm down, ma'am. I've done my crying already. Only vulgar people keep repeating themselves. Oh, I see what you did there. And yes, the White Queen was getting her pain out of the way before the brooch actually stuck her. If I recall correctly, in the book that's described as living backwards. Which, given that we're on the other side of a mirror, makes sense. But, you know, sticking yourself with your own brooch is a little silly. Hush! If people knew I sounded like a locomotive whistle, they'd tie me to the front of a horrid engine. She's got quite a scream, it sounds like. I disagree with that assessment, however. Well, it's my finger. I ought to know when it hurts and when it doesn't. Okay, you've got a point there. And for our final conversation choice, we will scold. Of course you're going to get Humpty Dumpty's cravat. I don't recall bringing that up. Anyway, we need to get that brooch, so we'll do the help thing. There we go. Let's have a look at it. It is a cameo brooch of an absent-minded Cupid shooting an arrow into a tree. Somehow that seems to suit the White Queen. Yoink. Now then, which door is next? I'd like the one under the clock. Oh, and we are now back in the Asuo Salgnikul, so I've taken a wrong turn. Rough. Eert. How about this door? Shite. Well, apparently this time we do want to go through another looking glass. Out. This must be the way out. And this room I actually do remember a bit. We have to go up the rope. And now we've arrived at Eno. Is that Kenji Eno or Brian Eno? In any case, there appears to be something on the table here. It is a faded photograph of pawns serenading the Red Queen. Well, what do you want to bet we'll be meeting her eventually? And at last, we've exited the Looking Glass house. Birdbath 1, the prequel. And appropriately enough, it's got a Borogove hanging around. Let me go ahead and let it knock me down. There we go. Slightly faster means of descent than the parasol. What have we got in this direction? We've got another bird bath with a bee. We can check that out in a moment. For now, I'm just going to keep walking and see what happens in the eastern part of the map. What are you waiting for, Alice? Hurry! I'm not waiting for anything. I'm exploring. Who are you again? You're too young for amnesia. Where am I now? It's time to go home, Alice, home! Well, that may be, but that's not what I asked. Come on, give me a little more to work with. This is almost like talking to myself, only sillier. Actually, it's exactly like talking to yourself. And it is kind of silly. Maybe I can help you out with that whole déjà vu thing. Don't be stupid. We already share everything. Well, I don't think we share temperament. You're a little bit rude. But then again, we do go around teasing and arguing with everybody, scolding them, so maybe I don't really have room to talk. Anyway, calm down now. How can I when the Red King could wake up at any moment? We keep hearing about that, but no one's really explained it yet. Maybe I can tease it out of her. I'm scowling because I'm trying to remember the French our sister taught us. That's it. Le gigot est content. Again, I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but the message comes across. But you know, I still don't understand what the point of that sentence is. It's not something you'd exactly use in everyday conversation. No tea break for you. I'm reloading. Well, I know someone who isn't going to get a birthday card from me. It might be considered a little vain to send one to oneself anyway. Let's go for a little swim. Hey, there's actually something on the other side of the water this time. A number of little houses, one of which has a tiny door that we would need to shroom or elixir ourselves through. For now, I'm just going to continue on my way. Another house with a small door. And hey, Humpty Dumpty. We heard someone mention him and his cravat. What a curious shape for a creature, and what's that funny yellow fungus on your head? Never mind, I'll call you a Cirky. I'm not sure if I've just been insulted, but we'll have a chat regardless. Your name, sir? Don't you read the newspapers? I'm Humpty Dumpty, advisor to the Queen on all things fashionable. That's a lofty position. I'd be more worried about how to get out of here. Looking Glass Land is going to disappear too, you know. Okay. And why are you sitting on that wall, Mr. Dumpty? A simple apology would be better, but that's too much to expect from a Cirky. Okay, now I know I'm being insulted. Was that why you're doing that? Yes, it was. Okay. Maybe you can help me out a little more than that, sir? Words are what I make them. You should see them on a Saturday night waiting to be paid. Yeah, this is something very much in line with the book. Humpty Dumpty liked to kind of redefine words to mean whatever he felt like them meaning. I don't think linguistics works like that. I mean, words are defined by their use, but not by one person. Maybe I could help you out with that bit of confusion. Ah! Don't touch me! That fungus might be catching. Well, you might get a little on you, but I'm not losing my hair that quickly. So let's try and calm him down a bit. Then don't crowd me so. This wall is only big enough for one of us. I'm not up there with you. So I'm going to make fun of you. Who wants to be able to tell one's chin from one's waist? This is in reference to the cravat. In the book, Alice couldn't really tell where Humpty Dumpty's neck was and where his waist was because he's kind of egg-shaped, and so she couldn't tell if he was wearing a cravat or a belt, and that really pissed him off. You are what I say you are, and you are a Surkey. That's short for Simple Turkey. Well, I didn't know I was being insulted, but at least I know how specifically I'm being insulted now. You shouldn't say things like that. At least I know a cravat from a belt and a rope from a noodle. Okay, so your shape does confuse the whole waist and neck thing a little bit, but I think I can tell a rope from a noodle. Well, I don't think we're going to get anything terribly useful out of Mr. Dumpty. Side note, in the book, Humpty Dumpty asks Alice how old she is, and she answers she's 7.5 years old. Humpty thinks that's an awkward sort of age, and that she really should have stopped at 7. To which Alice replies, one can't help growing older. And to that Humpty Dumpty observes, maybe one can't, but two can. With proper assistance, you might have left off at 7. Of all the death jokes in Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, and there are several which might surprise you in children's books, this one has to be my favorite. Mainly because, as in the game, Humpty Dumpty in the book is kind of a pompous ass, and his suggestion of helping Alice not get any older just makes him all the creepier. But never mind that, we've got exploring to do. Last time we jumped off a pier, it didn't go anywhere particularly useful. Maybe this time will be better. No swimming, eh? You ain't the boss of me, sign. "4,000 miles to America." Well, we better get a move on then. Oh. Oh, it's going to be one of those again, isn't it? Yes, I do believe the game is repeating itself again. Well, that was fruitless. I'm sure we can find a better use of our time. For example, what's up from this mushroom house? Well, I don't think I was expecting that. Can't get anywhere that way. We'll have to climb up again and take the right way around. But that's easily done. Don't think I can get around that bee by walking. Fortunately, we have a hat for just such situations. Whoops. Gotta take your hand off the analog stick there, huh? It is a smoke signal that says, "Ferrets save at First Looking Glass Bank." The White Queen did tell us that if we got something stolen by a ferret, that it would show up at the bank. So that's just another little hint along those lines. What about this door up here? It's an inventor's club. There's no obvious wall here, but there is a wall. Good to know. And who are you, fine gentlemen? Close the door. You might let in that bread and butter fly. Well, we certainly can't have that. And this is the White Knight. Where have I gotten myself to this time, Mr. Knight? It's more polite to ask, "Excuse me, noble sir, but where are you?" Well, I would ask that way, but the game doesn't actually have that option in the conversation system. So we'll just continue on. I like to think. You might try it sometime. It's very invigorating. I think we're being stealth insulted again. I just thought of the most marvelous thing. Self-buttering bread, what? Well, he is presumably a member in good standing of this inventors club, so points for inventiveness, if not practicality. How kind, but I always find it more useful to sing if I want to forget that dratted creature. Huh, that's another tune I don't recognize. If you have any idea, dear viewer, once again, I would appreciate it if you left a comment. Let's go ahead and update our save state so we don't have to do that again. That pest always leaves crumbs on my inventions. I wish someone would take it away. It's near the club. Well, he did mention not letting a bread and butter fly into the room, so presumably that's the pest he's talking about. More importantly, this sounds like an opportunity to enhance our inventory, so we'll go looking for the thing as soon as we finish with the night here. Shush! Inventor at work. I think your self-description is a bit lofty, Sir Knight. Excuse me, I have to talk to Humpty Dumpty. He can use his cravat over and over in the same room. I'll be back at 7 o'clock. What does he do? Put it on and take it off over and over? But at least that clarifies the matter of whether it's a belt or cravat. Inventors aren't like other people. They're working when they stare at the ceiling. I guess that makes them kind of like the old masters of the art world. Michelangelo liked to work that way, I understand. The White Knight here is a pretty minor character aside from giving you that new song. However, in the book he was quite important because for Through the Looking Glass he was Lewis Carroll's self-insert, and he had a lot more page time and dialogue than the Dodo from the first book. Notably, he was one of the only characters, arguably the only character, who was consistently nice and helpful to Alice and never tried to screw with her head. There was also a bittersweet note to their parting, because Alice was off to become a queen, in other words, to grow up, and in doing so, she would have to leave him behind. I'm sure you can see the parallel there. But here in the computer game world, we've got our song, and that's all we need. He said that bread and butter fly was hanging around near the club, so let's try exploring off in this direction. Welcome to Cloudland. I don't recall there actually being a Cloudland in the book, but the Through the Looking Glass section of this game is much less faithful to the book overall. It introduces a lot of new characters just for this game. We will float on up, bonk our head on the sky, plummet onto our head, and we can catch ourselves a bug. It is a delicate bread and butterfly with wings that are thin slices of lightly buttered bread. Yoink! Rather easily caught as insects go. But we don't have the opportunity to snack on it. Pity that. Incidentally, in the book, I believe there was also a snapdragon fly and a rocking horse fly. Well, that's what's above the mushroom house here. Let's see what's in it. A ferret and not a whole lot else, but it does look like there's another room there. Might be a little tricky to get past this guy, but with proper timing, I think it can be done. Whew! I fell off the ledge a little quicker than I was intending to there, but fortunately the timing was close enough that I could get away without being pickpocketed. Lots of ferrets in this neighborhood. I think my best bet of avoiding this one is to go up from underneath using the hat. But I think I'll need to be a little larger. There we go. At last! What news from Gloucester? An excellent question. I have never actually been there. And who, may I ask, am I addressing? Egad! I've been in exile too long. People have forgotten their bonny Prince Charlie. Somehow I question that. But never mind. Where's this? In the palace of the true ruler, Charles Stuart. If you're selling house insurance, I don't want any. I don't know, I think housing insurance would be a pretty good idea for a mushroom. I can imagine a lot of ways that could go wrong. I'll take back my crown someday, though I might settle for a nice kitchen set. Is my cause so desperate that they must use children as messengers? What next, moles? Bring word to Scotland that I shall return, as soon as I can find my map. You don't have someone sitting on your throne, drinking all your prize wines. Well, you're not wrong. I don't even have a throne. Yet. I already did that one. Lack-a-day! That the rightful ruler should be mocked by a child, and a rather untidy one at that. You picked the wrong person for that. Is that a threat? It's not my fault. Anybody can get the title of queen if they just get to a special room. Well, that's good to know. No special exams or prerequisites or anything like that. This, I believe, is the White King, if I recall correctly. He is completely optional, you don't get anything of value from him, you can't give anything to him, he's just there for flavor. Well, nothing else to do here, so fare thee well, Prince Charles. Now this could be a challenge. I'm going to have to try and do a jump when he's on his way down. And it went completely wrong. I wonder what it was I lost. I suspect since mention was made of it, it might be the bread and butterfly. No, I've still got that. I didn't see the key. He might have yoinked that. Ferrets seem to like the key. Moving on. We've got another tiny house to investigate. Hopefully this one a little more fruitful. Ah, a railroad station. Rather an odd place to put one, but I do think this is a location of some value. I'll just keep that in mind and finish exploring the outside first. I don't think I've been everywhere out here yet. Right, that was Cloudland. Here we have another body of water. If I recall correctly, we did swim across this one and find that there was actually somewhere to go. Ah, yes, I remember talking to our doppelganger here. I don't believe we went up here, though. And what do you know, another tiny door. However, I'm not sure if I can actually reach... What am I thinking? I've got a flying hat. It's useful for more than avoiding bees. Of course, it means I'll have to float up to the top of the screen and take what should be a fatal plummet. But Alice is resilient. I haven't seen your letters of introduction from 3 famous people. I believe I'm going to have to grow to initiate conversation here, which is kind of annoying because I'll have to shrink again to get out of the house. But it can't be helped. And who do I have the pleasure of encountering? And just who are you to ask? You look rather unimportant to me. They sure do grow a lot of jerks in these parts. This particular jerk is Her Majesty the Red Queen. In his notes for the stage productions of the Alice books, you may recall that Lewis Carroll described the Queen of Hearts as a fury, a creature of all rage and passion. Of the Red Queen, he said she is also a fury, but rather than a white-hot one, she is an ice-cold fury, and an extremely strict one. Basically the ultimate governess. I really must be off. The bellman is only in the Crystal Palace from 4 to 6. I'll make a mental note of that. Can you help me out a little more, perhaps? No, a rule's a rule, and a ruler's a ruler, unless it's under 12 inches. Well, I'm only occasionally that small. Only a queen may do that. We hear that a lot. Well, if you can't help me, maybe I can help you. Oh, we just did that. My brain works. How would it be if everything talked to everything? The world would be filled with babble. On the other hand, since so much of this is based around the conversation system, that would make for a very short game indeed. So I'm going to tease you about it. Laugh if you like, but queens only laugh and answer riddles in French. Sprinkle salt everywhere like French. I'm not entirely sure how to parse that bit about the salt, but answering riddles in French is good to know. That's another hint for one we'll face down the road. But I don't think that's actually a real rule. You might have the makings of a queen if you can reach the Crystal Palace. Well, we were told that the only real requirement for becoming a queen is to find our way to the right room. The English can be endearing when they are stubborn, but quite childish when they're angry. Well, I'm going to be quite childish by blowing you off. Much like the White King, talking to the Red Queen here is completely optional, but you do get that hint for a riddle, so it's not completely useless. And have I been all the way left of here? I do not recall offhand, so pardon me while I explore a little longer. Ah, yes, this is Birdbath 1 that we came down from. This is a rather nice-looking area. Looks like there might be a little bit of the maze about it, though. If you're pollinating, stay away. Well, fortunately, unlike below the root, we don't actually have to go down there to talk to this flower. But I do think we'll need to be a little bigger. Yep, voice too faint to be heard. Well, the doors here work a little strangely. But never mind that, we need to be a little bigger. And I see that we're out of purple mushrooms. Fortunately, I see a couple of cakes and an elixir here, so we can keep on top of our size change items. Save state as usual. I'm a golden buttercup. Well, aren't you fancy? And I'm in the garden. Guess I should have guessed that. Terrible hay fever. Very unfortunate in a plant. Don't look now, dear, but your petals are drooping. My hair tends to do that naturally. I'm not very good at remembering what conversation options I've used today. Thank you. There's nothing like a handful of moss for a sneeze. Well, if you're looking for something to make you sneeze, I imagine that would work. Now you sound like the barrister. He's always snooping around here. I am not a lawyer. No, please don't come any closer. You really do make me sneeze. You're as bad as that other flower, but she has funny spikes all around her head. When I first played this as a youngster, I thought the buttercup was talking about the borogoves because they have kind of a spiky look about them. But in reading the book, I learned that it was talking about the Red Queen, and the spikes are her crown. I haven't seen any flower called a queen. The buttercup is another character that you don't have to converse with, it's just a little more flavor. Matter of fact, if I remember rightly, you don't have to come to the garden at all. But there are some size items, which is handy if you're running low and don't want to go all the way back to where the mushrooms respawn. And a couple more. If you step on this spot that looks slightly different, I believe you fall down to the lower floor, and we don't want that right now. I think walking in front of the post here will also drop you down, and we don't want that either. Yep, nothing important at all about the garden, but we do get our size items topped up, and that's of some value. Now then, a little backtracking, and I believe what we need to do next is go to the train station. And I believe that was in this little house, wasn't it? There we are. I think off the screen to the right here is just a wall, but I'll check. Yep. I've gone all Mushroom Cloud. To the trains. When you're in a train station, that's usually a pretty good way to go. A looking glass here, but I'm going to leave that alone for now. Is this a door? It is not a door. Are we tall enough to read this? Apparently not. We're really burning through those size items, but I think we should have enough. Excursion train to the Crystal Palace. Well, we've been told if we want to become a queen, and I understand we do, that's the way we're going to have to go. So let's hop aboard. As I live and breathe, it's a human child! But you're supposed to be mythical. Who are you, Mr. Horseman? A unicorn, of course. I guess I should have figured that out by the spiral horn. And where am I? Aren't you a dull figment? We're on the train going to the Crystal Palace. Well, once again, a little mindfulness of the stuff we've been recently reading would have told us that, but we want to get all those conversation options. By the way, I wouldn't go to Shrewsbury. I hear they don't like imaginary figments. Imaginary figments don't have to get off trains, they can just disappear. I must ask the bellman about figments. I do wish the train would hurry. He's only in the palace between 4 and 6. Yes, we'd heard about that. This bellman must be pretty important. If you're going to practice medicine, you ought to have a degree, or at least a golf club. I have no idea what that has to do with anything, but okay. In fact, I think you're silly. Well, I'll believe in you if you'll believe in me. This is a line that's pretty faithful to the book, and it's one that I always liked. Shush! I thought I heard the gnat. He always has something extra to say if you use the seashell. Oh, so there's actually a practical use for the seashell. Good to know. You're probably nothing more than a dream, the result of too many pickles for lunch. I recommend having pan for lunch. It's much easier on the brain. Coach class is back there, giant. And who do you think you are? A very put-upon gnat. And a classist one, it sounds like. Where am I? Up in the clouds, it looks like from here. No, we were already up in the clouds, and that was a little ways off. Just trying to keep from getting stepped on. I suppose keeping yourself airborne would be a pretty good way of that. How could anyone that big lose herself? Hey, I'm not even giant-sized right now. Thank you, but a big, clumsy thing like you was too dangerous to be a friend. I'm sad now. I suppose that isn't a bad idea. I have a riddle to pass the time. How do you get down off a train? You don't. You get down off a... You get down off a butt. No response. I don't think I had quite the right answer there. Ow! You nearly took out my eye trying to tickle me. Yes, you are too big, and too clumsy, too. Well, I'd love to shrink down to make you a little more comfortable, Mr. Gnat, but if I did that just like everyone else, you wouldn't be able to hear me. I'm not some worn-out moth. I don't have to hang around here and be insulted. All right, let's load state and take another crack at that riddle. Whoop, that's calm. How do you get down off a train? You don't. You get down off a... duck. Use the Mad Hatter's hat to rise through the ceiling. You could figure that out fairly easily without getting the riddle. There is, after all, a gaping hole in the roof of the train, but it's nice to have a little hint every now and then. We were also told that the gnat has a little something extra to say if you use the seashell here. Let's give it a try. Don't be fooled by train cars that look the same but aren't. Okay, it is Wonderland, we don't expect it to have real-world logic, and that was the game's title screen theme that it played there. Nice little touch. Right, let's do the hat thing. Upsy-daisy. And we find ourselves in another cloudy place. And we find ourselves tumbling down from another cloudy place. But that's okay, because there's nothing you actually have to do up there. All you have to do is float through the ceiling and see that room, and then you're ready to move on. Incidentally, that business about train cars that look the same but aren't, it really doesn't. It's rather blatantly yellow. No, end of the line. Well, I hope we're a little closer to the Crystal Palace. If you've come to see the waxworks, you ought to pay. Contrariwise, if you've come to be a statue, you ought to stop moving. Once again, a rather strange piece of logic, but I can't actually fault it. And who are you? The last time I read my collar, it said Tweedledee, but contrariwise, I may have changed shirts last May. We'll just assume you're Tweedledee. Maybe you need glasses. Can't you read the sign? Yeah, I keep not doing that. I have to do the work of two. When I broke his rattle, my brother quit. This is a reference to the nursery rhyme, Tweedledum and Tweedledee agreed to have a battle, because Tweedledum said Tweedledee had spoiled his nice new rattle, which is also referenced in the book. Well, that's a shame. Is there anything I can do for you? My brother would know the way to the palace, because he's already there. Note to self, find Tweedledum. You'd help best by making way for the huge crowds. I see no such crowds. So calm down. You'd be scared too if you'd heard the Jabberwock flying around. He is a manxome foe, I understand. I am not an overgrown schoolboy. You're an undersized afterthought. I thought we were a figment. Well, you look like a dummy to me. What about a job here? The hours are long, but the work is easy. Actually, standing motionless for long periods of time is pretty damn hard. You needn't get huffy. Contrariwise, I needn't listen. And I needn't reload state, because that was the last conversation option. Interesting. Are these all doors? That appears to be a no. But we've got another Alice standing by. Don't dawdle, Alice. Let's go. Well, I'll dawdle long enough to see what useless things you have to say. Let's go home. Now! Getting a little homesick, are you, Other Alice? About to go into danger if Tweedledee is right. Alright, well, why are you standing on a windowsill? Because I don't want the Jabberwock to get us. You mean it really is out there? The Red King could be waking up right now. Listen to me and think of things we can do to escape the Jabberwock. Well, I'm all out of ideas. Well, how do you think we can avoid the Jabberwock? I suppose staying in here would do it, but that would kind of interfere with our whole finishing the game thing. I am not a little worrywart. Did you say the Jabberwock is a fantasy or fan-to-see creature? Oh, aren't you clever? Maybe the fan will scare him. If it's a fearsome monster, that seems like kind of a stretch, but I'll keep it in mind. That was argue, right? Yes, it was. No, help me figure out how to get home. I'm working on it. Apparently I have to do the whole queenly thing first. And what, pray, is through this way? One way to the railroad station. You may recall a looking glass in the railroad station that I didn't go through. It's on top of a ledge, and you can't actually go to it because the ledge isn't an actual piece of ground. If you step through it here, then you'll just fall down off the ledge. I'll show you what I mean. See? Can't go back up that way. So, we shall reload and move along. Moving on. Ah, the Jabberwock, who lives in the Jabberwock forest, which I understand is quite tulgy. Kaloo Kalay. Doesn't seem very talkative other than that repeated phrase. We've met some characters like that. Well, we've got no quarrel with you, frightening monster, so let's just move along. Or not. Well, if he really is a Fan-2-C creature, maybe our alter ego had a little decent advice for once. Oh, beamish girl, oh, frabjous day, the Jabberwock is blown away. Well, that didn't actually scare him, as the other Alice suggested. Seems more like he's made of papier-mâché or something. Well, it wasn't a Vorpal sword, but it'll do. Sneak attack. Alright, we'll try timing this correctly. There we go. Anything up here in the tree that actually matters? Oh, it's this asshole again. You admirers are really so relentless. Well, I don't give autographs and I don't do windows. There's that whole pompous ass thing again. Well, Mr. Big and Important, I've forgotten who you are. That's rather obvious. I'd say you're standing up, and not doing a very good job of it. I've a week's worth of vocabulary to pay, and I can't figure out my account books. This is actually kind of a clever little book reference. In Through the Looking Glass, Humpty Dumpty was very good with words. He's the one who explained most of the language of Jabberwocky to Alice. But he absolutely could not do math to save his life. Could I help you with those calculations? Yes, I am a rather handsome shape. You would be too, with a little trimming. Ooh, Humpty making another death joke. Unless you're an accountant or a juggler, I can't use you. Alright, settle down. But I'm busy! My verbs are demanding double wages. Getting pushed around by language, are you? This is just like what happened in the Baker's Nightmare. You stupid Cirky! This is not a belt! This is a cravat! A cravat! A cravat! And it's not a wall, but it certainly sounds like Humpty just had a great fall. We're not letting him off so easily. If you're not a fan, you're even less likely to have me give an autograph or wash your windows. Alright, alright. You picked the wrong person for that. I think we're being threatened again. Alright, let's reload and drop him to his death and steal his fashion accessory. Ah, so it really is a cravat. Specifically, a wide cravat of silk. Or is it a belt? Still, it seems very elastic as you pull at it. Don't mind if I do. Hey, nice topiary. Well, while we're in the neighborhood, let's try out that cravat Humpty Dumpty gave us. The description said it feels very elastic. Maybe we can make some use of that. Well, what do you know? A portable climbable. Just like the March Hare's whisker or a vine rope from below the root, only vertical. You might think the top hat would make such an item unnecessary, but maybe there will be places that are too narrow to fly through but where a rope will do the job. In any case, we've just acquired a potentially very useful piece of equipment, and with that accomplishment under our belt, no pun intended, I think we've earned a little break. Thank you, dear viewers, for venturing through the looking glass with me, and I hope you'll join me again when we continue helping Alice along on her way to the Crystal Palace. Until then, I hope you have a good day and a good tomorrow. This is signing off. Today's Snicker Snack has been brought to you by Justin Carpenter, Nolden, Zagamarth, Anonymous Benefactor, John Madigan, Sanguine Games, Misha Van Doren, Frank Grizzy, Tim J., Lolo De Puzzlo, Joshua C. Ritchie, Jared C. Rice, Sonic Rose, EX Potemkin, Alicia Goranson, Mechasaurus, DG Jono, Doug Russell, August Fortnite, Patrick Bellinger, Andy Kurland, Jarogue, Martin Schoenmakers, Mayo the Hedgefox, Hildegard Argelmach, IGV, Jazel, Joseph Hall, Hot Mayo Sandwich, Dan Larson, Electric Keat, K. Ivan Rupert, Tiny Shopkeeper, Charlie Dunst, Kikoskia, Kobo4231, Alex Beyer, Yuka Takeuchi Fan, Chaotic Narrative, McCaffrey Crandall, and other beamish patrons. Your support is very generous and very much appreciated. I'd also like to send out some appreciation to all subscribers and commenters, and all you quiet folks in the audience. Take care, everyone. I hope you have a frabjous week, and I'll see you next time around.